The 2025 NBA season is coming to an end, and at this point, everyone knows it is a two-man race between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic. They're having two of the best seasons we have ever seen, but unfortunately, only one can win it. For me, it is an obvious choice, but I'll break down the arguments for both and also the other candidates, because honestly, this has been a great year for candidates. The guy who is clearly a distant third in this race is also having one of the best seasons ever, and literally no one thinks he should win it this year. And there are a few honorable mentions that I'll list as well. But first, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel and my social media accounts down below or at the end of this video. On this channel, I'll talk about any and all sports, but I mostly focus on basketball and football. Anyway, on to the video. So, obviously, Shai and Jokic are really the only ones with a realistic shot at the MVP award. But I do believe there are a few guys right now playing at MVP level, and one guy that as mentioned earlier is playing some incredible basketball, but he has been sadly overshadowed and potentially blackballed. So I'll cover them before talking about Shai and Jokic. The Cavs have been elite all season. For the most part, they have been elite because of a combination of elite talent and elite depth. And because of that, they don't really have a clear MVP favorite. That being said, Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley have been consistently the best players on the Cavs. Mitchell has been the driving force for the Cavs offense, and Mobley has been the driving force for the Cavs defense. And while neither should finish in the top 4, I do think they both should be in consideration for that 5th spot. One player that will not qualify due to missed games, but was well on pace for some votes, was Victor Wembanyama. He was looking like the Defensive Player of the Year favorite, and honestly, I'm not against him winning that award even with him missing half the year, because his defense was just that good, and to be honest, it's been kind of a weak group otherwise. Ultimately, if he stays healthy, he should have no problem running away with the MVP down the road, but for now, he's not in consideration. One guy that will be in consideration for the MVP award, but will definitely not get enough votes for the top 3, is Jason Tatum. The Green Gooner has been excellent this year, averaging numbers very similar to what LeBron averaged in his first MVP season with Miami. Of course, very different era. 2012 LeBron probably averages about 39-7 today in a similar situation. Nonetheless, Tatum is well rounded on both ends, is a high impact player on one of the best teams in the league, but he's also a frustrating player to watch because you often get the impression that he should be more productive than he is. But ultimately, the Celtics are elite and are the defending champs, so there's not really much more else you can ask of Tatum. That being said, while he obviously is playing at an MVP level, he is not playing well enough to merit any higher than 4th. But he does deserve some votes. I think at this point, it's very obvious who 3rd will be. It's Giannis, of course. And to be fair, it's difficult to argue that he's having a better year than Shai or Jokic. That being said, he's not far off from their production, and he's also the best defender of the 3 for where that is worth. He's averaging around 30 points on 60% shooting, which has only been done once before, Giannis last year. He's doing things we haven't really seen before, but yet because he's on a pretty poorly constructed roster, it's been lost by many NBA fans that he's actually about as good as he's ever been, if not better. This year, he's actually been very good from the mid-range, so he's not just run and dunk man at this point, he's run, dunk, and mid-range man. Unfortunately, he'll probably never be a true 3-level scorer, but with a player as physically dominant as Giannis, all he truly needs is a consistent mid-range and perhaps a consistent post-game. Ultimately, again, he's easily going to finish 3rd in MVP voting, but I still believe he is as good as anyone playing today, and historically, he's about as good as anyone that's ever played the sport. Maybe one day Giannis will get his flowers, but it won't be now. And now for the 2 candidates that truly matter, because they're the only ones that have a chance. Let's start with Jokic. His MVP case is obvious. Statistically, he is having the best regular season ever. Now keep in mind, I am only saying statistically. To me, when evaluating players, it goes way beyond statistics. We know these numbers are inflated because of the era. We know Jokic touches the ball like 100 times a game, which is obviously going to make it easier to accumulate box score numbers. And for advanced metrics, we also know those metrics are extremely flawed, especially on defense. Like, we all know Jokic is not a top 5 defender ever, not even remotely close, but that's what defensive box plus minus is telling us. This is where the eye test and context clues are extremely important to analyzing basketball players. The Nuggets know he is a weak link on defense, which is why they try to flank him with elite defenders. The film and the way the Nuggets build around him tell me much more about his defensive capabilities than flawed garbage metrics like defensive BPM. I would not even trust on and off metrics. He's probably an upgrade defensively over age 36 DJ, but that is a low bar. I personally do not care too much about advanced or impact metrics because of these flaws. That being said, Jokic is undeniably still incredible talent, and he's the main reason the Nuggets are on pace to win over 50 games. His offensive ability is as good as any has ever played the sport. He does not have a weakness on that end. As for Shai, his argument is somewhat similar to Jokic's argument. The raw numbers may not look quite as eye-popping, but they do look very Jordan-esque. Not saying he's the reincarnation of Michael Jordan. The numbers say that, but today's NBA is so inflated, I can't imagine what Jordan would average today. But Shai's having statistically a stat line that we haven't really seen since early 90s MJ. And for whatever it's worth, the advanced metrics and impact metrics are comparable, if not better, than what we see for Jokic. The only one that isn't is BPM, but that one clearly massively overrates Jokic's defense. Normally, Jokic has the statistical edge when it comes to MVP, but he's finally met his match with SGA. But on top of that, SGA is leading Oklahoma to the best record out west by a long shot, and could realistically finish with the Thunder winning nearly 70 games and home court throughout the entire playoffs. That's with Shai's best teammate missing roughly half the season, and with a team that's solid and well built, but not stacked by any means. That's very similar to the MVP argument for Jokic back when his team was missing starters. He had a well built squad around him that maximized his playmaking and minimized the damage his defense could cause, but people still insisted he should win MVP, leading those teams to nearly 50 wins. Now Shai is doing something similar, and he's leading OKC to nearly 70 wins while being statistically right there with anyone. Shai is having a historical season. He's the best player on the best team in the league. He has the raw numbers and advanced impact numbers in his favor, and he is doing all this despite a team that has been dealing with injuries to its bigs all season. From a skill set standpoint, Shai doesn't really have a weakness on both ends as a scorer, playmaker, or defender. That's not to say that he is a better player than Jokic or Giannis, at least at this point. Those two are not far off statistically and are way more proven in the playoffs. Shai, as we all know, is notoriously unproven there. But this is a regular season award, and going strictly off of the 2025 regular season, he is so clearly the MVP. But that's just my opinion. Who you guys think should win this season? Let me know in the comments down below. Cyber out.